Hello. Hello, people on the internet. We're about to record a show. Good, Bad, or Bullshit, episode 176 starts in 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, my God. The clicks are not there. Wait, put the clicks in. Everyone likes the
I
clicks.
mentally prepare, and this is what he does to me. I can't work in these
5,
conditions.
Good, Bad, or Bullshit, 176. 5, 4, 3.
Hello, and welcome to the Good, Bad, or Bullshit podcast. My name is Crofton Steers. I am the Bill S. Preston of this podcast. With me, as always, my co-host. I'm talking about the Ted Theodore Logan of this podcast. That is Mike Hodgins. Michael, welcome.
Who?
Michael?
Also, I believe he Ted
Okay,
Theodore his internet connection.
Well, too bad. We just started an episode and it all
in a
fell
very
apart.
unfortunate facial pose. I guess
I know. You've got that freeze frame too, eh? The chin up.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Mhm.
Like there was something really nasty on his finger. He just smelt it, and he's like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I guess we can start over.
Yeah, we'll start. Maybe cancel the call and he's jumped. Did you hang up on him or did he hang
No,
up
I
on
was
us?
of his own accord.
No, I turned the video off because did you video off because it was like, basically it was like in super slow motion. You were like, and I was like, oh god,
What?
like, maybe I should just can my video.
That was such a good impression of what happened. How did you do that?
No,
You
know that
lagged
it was
out the whole time you were making your impression.
Yeah, so you did an impression of being lagged out, and then it lagged out as you did that impression.
And then it lagged out again. Oh
Turn
my
off
God.
your video, please.
Yeah, we have to do it without video, I think.
Okay, can you hear now?
Okay, my video's off.
Are you able to
Hopefully
shut
that
down
improves it.
our video so it doesn't come through to you as well?
I don't know how if I can do that.
I don't know if that you can.
I wonder if we should just turn our videos off then.
Except we're not going to know if you're having a problem anymore.
No, I know, but well, I don't know what. Yeah, that's like I said. I said this could be iffy because of the Wi-Fi, but
But you're coming through. Okay,
it's-
let's give it one more go and see how it
Okay.
goes, okay? And,
Bo and I will keep our video on for now.
all right. Episode Good, Bad, or Bullshit 176. 5, 4, 3, push button, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Good, Bad, or Bullshit podcast. I am Crofton Steers, one of your three jovial co-hosts of this auditory voyage through a random topic. I am the Bill S. Preston Esquire of this podcast. With me, as always, is Ted Theodore Logan of this podcast. I am talking about Michael Hodgins. Michael, welcome.
hey, dude, is that accurate? I haven't seen
That's
those movies in a long time.
That's
Go
pretty
ahead.
close. And, of course, our spirit guide, Rufus. I'm talking about Bo Schwartz. Bo, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Spirit Guide Rufus.
Don't know Rufus?
Is that how that works?
He's the guy from the future who likes their music.
Yeah.
George Carlin.
Oh, it's George
Iconic.
Carlin.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on. You
Hmm.
guys, you're letting me down.
I was having a moment where I was confusing it with Quantum Leap. You know that guy that showed up with,
yeah.
this. That's who I had in my mind. I'm like, it's the Quantum Leap guy, but no, George Carlin.
I'm not getting the reference, you guys. I'm sorry.
You never seen Quantum?
No, I've seen Quantum Leap. I don't know what the Rufus and what did he call
You've never
it?
seen Bill
Theodore?
and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
No, actually.
Well,
Wow.
that's why you don't get it.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the video game, were all big parts of my childhood growing up. I'm
And
surprised.
just part of the general kind of pop culture of the era in which you grew up too, Bo. So I'm surprised those got
I
past.
feel like I missed it. I feel like something about that movie, for whatever reason, it never found appealing. And then by the time it was later, I just, didn't go back to it. And yeah, it looks like
Wild Stallions.
looks like there's
Woo!
I'm
Save
culturally
the princesses.
for a change. I'm the one that's culturally inept and not
For a change?
Yeah, it's usually me who doesn't understand pop culture references.
Yeah, that's sort of Mike's shtick.
Well, I get. You know what? Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is one of those movies and that's due for a remake. I'm not saying that it deserves a remake. I'm not saying that movies should be remade. I'm just saying that Hollywood, by now, creatively bankrupt as it is, should be looking at it to relaunch because it was a success, right?
Yeah,
It's
well, they do. Yeah, they are becoming cyclical, but it's such a sad thing that
Oh,
is
I
how.
know, but don't you think it's like the amount of time that's passed, also preying on nostalgia of people like me? You don't think they
Whoa,
would
whoa.
do like a
If a story is really good, it's worth a retelling. That's okay.
Yeah, but you can just read. It's not like you rewrite Charles Dickens because it's a good book. You could still read it as it is in the same way you can still watch a movie that was good that was made in the 1980s or 90s and appreciate it. It doesn't have to be like, but we don't know who those celebrities are anymore. Let's get new
Well, I
celebrities.
mean, some tellings are better than others, but I think there's room for. I mean, if you guys aren't watching the new Westworld, which was a Michael Crichton novel, and then a movie, I believe, from the '70s that looks awful with Yul Brynner. You guys remember Yul Brynner?
Yul
And
Brynner, he's
and
awesome.
now it's a pretty high-end HBO television series.
so no, I don't want to pay for HBO, so I guess I'm missing out on
Oh, you can
Westworld.
pick
I
it up
understand
on
what you mean.
iTunes, or it'll probably be on the streaming service of some kind in the future if HBO ever decides to go outside of that in their own
Never gonna
environment.
happen.
Probably not,
But
but it's
I
good.
do
Is what I'm the
understand.
point we're missing. Crofton, you're derailing my point. Is that
No, I get your
a
point. Some
retelling of a
stuff can be
story
remade.
can be better, and we shouldn't let our feelings about shitty remakes flavor the future of potential. It's filled with it.
One thing I will say, and I'm almost selling myself on a Bill and Ted remake, is that because of the time traveling nature of the show, it could exist in the same canon as the original Bill and Ted. They could even go back to the Circle K and see Bill and Ted and like some CG creation that's supposed to be dead George Carlin or something like that. And it could all work in canon. Oh man, that would be amazing.
Well, I just want we can talk, I'm sure, more about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I just thought that I'd mention, just because I've done this once or twice before, but I'm on a trip right now. I'm in British Columbia and
Oh
still doing the
yeah.
show.
So how? So you're saying it's cold as all get out around
It's
there?
it's really cold. I came to a conclusion about well, it's more like a broad conclusion, but skiing tipped me off about it. So like I like skiing. I might have mentioned before I liked skiing. Uh, and I come on the ski trips now and then, and I always look forward to them. I fly out and looking for, fresh powder snow to ski in. And then had this realization where, it's like what I'm really after is the idea of skiing, much more so than the reality. And I think that this is true of many things, that the idea of something often either ruins the reality of it or just is not compatible with the reality of it. So I have this idea of skiing as being like, oh yeah, there's this deep powder snow and you're going through it. But the reality is it's really cold. Often you're uncomfortable. You're waiting in massive lineups. There's thousands of people trying to get at the good snow. So you're skiing in crappy conditions and over bumps. And I feel like 95% of the time, what I want isn't what I get. And I think it's the conflict between the idea of skiing that exists in my mind that I'm chasing, and the reality is almost never that. And I'm like, and that's true of, I think, a lot of things. But I'm trying to be like, remember that, brain. Remember that. You don't always
There's
have to spend all this money on a trip.
There is no, it's true. You have like an idyllic perception of what you want it to be. And I'll be honest, I realized in the past couple of years I've had a really complicated relationship mentally with skiing, where it was something that was a really big part of my youth, where my two brothers went into hockey and I was much more into skiing, and I did like ski racing as a kid, and there was a lot that was like, it was a lot of it was pushed on me more than I wanted to, because you want your kids to partake in activities. I wasn't necessarily enjoying it as much as I probably should have. And then as I was growing up, like all my friends and my brother got really into it. And I kept feeling like I had to do it. And on the Machismo episode, I know I talked about how I felt that like I felt there was a certain amount of pressure or macho-ness of like going down these tough runs or doing backcountry or doing this sort of thing, and I would feel bad when I didn't do it. And then the past couple of years I've skied probably less than I have my entire life, but I appreciate it generally when I go more. Part of that has to do with the fact that I'm taking care of a toddler all the time and enjoy just having the breaks. But the other part is just I'm like I put less pressure on myself to I go down the runs I want. If it's a blue square, so be it or whatever. If it's not that long, if my legs are pooched at the end, like maybe I'll take a break and I don't mind so much. I don't mind if the whole posse goes down a tough hill and I go down a less tough hill. And that stuff used to bother me mentally. So I think it's about how you approach these things. Like,
yeah, well, and you're definitely right about the machismo, and it made me think about because even out in the west of Canada, it's like layered on thick. Machismo is big out here, I find, and it definitely kind of irks me sometimes. So I'm getting more in line with you, Croft, and just being like, yeah, tired of trying to like keep up. And I like those tough runs, but sometimes I don't, So I'm trying to be like, yeah, what do I like about this, and just try to like focus on that and stop trying to.
Because you like adventure. Is it more the adventure of the thing than the skiing?
Well, yes, I do, and then again, this is the idea of something not matching up with the reality of it. So the reality is like you're mostly just waiting in lines. I hate waiting in lines. I hate it. But when you go skiing at a ski resort, you're gonna wait in line a lot. It's not much more than you're gonna ski probably, and that's frustrating. So it's one of those things where I think I just need to reevaluate a little bit, and in some ways I used to always like poo-poo the little ski resorts that I grew up skiing, but in some ways there's something things that are good about them. There's less machismo because it's a little mountain. There's the lifts are less long because they're short hills. There's some advantages to them.
Well, I always thought, with regards to the lines, I always thought that was the worst part of like when I was growing up, because we'd ski on these little hills, and it took like I would time sometimes, and I would go pretty much bomb down the run or go straight down. It'd take me like a minute from top to bottom, or a minute 10 or something. And meanwhile, I'm in just the lifts going up. If there were no line, took you 20 minutes. And if there was a line, which was often, especially on weekends, like it could take you 45 minutes to do a run, of which a minute of that was skiing, and like I found that's why going to the bigger resorts held a certain appeal to me, because you spent less time in those lines. Hopefully
that can be true, and they're big mountains are definitely fun. I'm not saying they're not, but in any case, I don't want to we've eaten enough time on this up. But I would like to just say to
for non-skiing people, there's this preamble to the show was like a line that they had to wait in to get to the main.
No, I think if you have a broad mind and aren't narrowly focused on skiing, you can sort of appreciate the concept of like growing up with certain interest, or like being focused on a certain interest and then maturing and seeing the negatives, being aware of the negatives and like approaching it differently. I think it applies to almost anything, especially there's so many interests, like people are thrown into violin lessons or passionate about something as a kid, and then they lose their love of that thing or start seeing the warts a lot more. I think that's important to.
Yeah. And I think as I get older, I also, back to that, it's like the idea of something is not often the reality. And I think we spend a lot of time kind of meshing these things together, like, oh, it's like this, and then you do it, and it's like it's not quite how you think it is, but you still hold on to that idea and focus on it. But so I had to spend a lot of money to get the random topic generator checked on the airplane, but I did it.
Oh my God! You brought it with you?
Yeah, it's out here.
I was just gonna say maybe there was like a site that would generate a random number for us.
No, I brought the machine. We had to rent an extra big vehicle, but I just like to send a shout out to our Patreon supporters, because with their generous support, I was able to pay the extra baggage fee. So thanks.
Let's put that money to good use. I'm
always
pitching it like it's server cost. Like help us pay for the web hosting so we can keep the show on the air. And I was like, there's a little bit extra left over. It's good. We found a use for it. Putting it to good work.
It would have been probably a lot easier to just bring it to one of your guys' houses, but
I know that's what people are thinking. Couldn't you have just given it to one of us? And probably yes.
Yeah.
But it is a complicated machine, and you guys are kind of incompetent with mechanical devices, so I didn't want you to break it.
Okay. Well, do you have it near where the sound can show up?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to pull.
There it goes. It's full.
Cord, get it going.
There it's going. Oh my God! It sounds healthy as ever. Great. And the air must be cleaner over there. You're not like coughing or anything. That's And there's the ding. Oh, bit of coughing.
I was
Fresh
holding my
mountain air.
and this motel room doesn't actually have a good ventilation, so that was it's pretty domed in here now.
I hope your little
Okay,
guy isn't in there.
The topic today. Oh, this is a timely one. It's daylight savings time.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, how timely is that?
It's just, when did that? It was only a couple weeks ago. The daylight.
I've already forgotten. This is the problem with daylight savings time is I never know when it's coming, so it's always a surprise. And then, well, I guess that's the problem. I mean, I've already forgotten about it. It's so inconsequential, except
Well,
it messes up
I would
2
say-
days of your year.
But how can you forget about it when you leave work and it's pitch black outside and you're like, why is it dark so early
okay.
in the evening?
I guess I'm aware of it. But I don't think about when it is or what it is. It's just like, because you get to this point where you're like, well, I guess that's the way the world is. So, just got to live with it.
Well, it's funny because daylight savings time is regionalized, or like certain countries, certain areas abide by it, others don't. Like in Canada, I think there are provinces that wholesale don't do it.
Saskatchewan does not. Do it.
Saskatchewan doesn't do. Screw you, Saskatchewan. But the thing about that,
I'd say this is one of the few places that Saskatchewan is a leader.
Yeah,
Sorry, Saskatchewan.
I'm on board with that.
So the concept of daylight savings time really is is it a bias towards early risers? Is that the deal? Because the thing is, when it happens, it means generally you're going to get more light in the morning, and the sun's gonna go down later in the evening. Isn't that? Everything's bumped up 2 hours during the winter period when days are shorter. So,
but I've also heard tell that the daylight savings time is the time in the summer. Like that's daylight savings time, and then it reverts to normal time, which is it gets dark early. At least the more north you are. And I don't know if that's accurate or not, because to me that seems backwards. But
yeah, there's tons of daylight in the summer. Why would you need to save it? You need to save it in the winter.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. I think you're right about the bias towards early risers, and I have heard, and I don't know if this is true, because I don't know what source I heard it from, but I'm just going to say it. The daylight savings time was Benjamin Franklin, prominent American
Benjamin Franklin?
of the what would you call it? What period was that? The Revolutionary period in the United States.
Sure.
Anyways, he was a big proponent of daylight savings time because he was an extremely early riser, and at the time they used oil to light, for lighting, and he would have to put on the oil early in the morning so he could read or write or do whatever he needed to do. And he thought, what a waste of oil. And I'd heard that. So he was like, if we move that time back, we'll save all this energy, all this oil, if we just have daylight. And I have heard that elsewhere that it's an energy based thing, like that that when you do like daylight savings time, you'll use less energy because you'll have light in times when you might not otherwise use it. But I think that can't be true anymore, because people have lights on all the time, morning, nights. Like, we use energy fairly consistently. I doubt that hour is really putting a dent in most people's
Not only that, but the work schedule. Like, people's work habits are different. Like, there weren't very many 24-hour call centers or production lines back then, so we don't need it for that either, right?
Yeah, and I think that the concept of what makes it interesting to me is it reflects the fact that time is in many ways, or like the recording of time is a man-made construct, in that we can change the rules of it to a certain extent as we see fit. Like, oh, it's 2:00. Well, now 2:00 is 2 hours earlier. And I find that kind of interesting because, I mean, it makes you realize that you can question the rules of the game in many ways, and say, like, okay, like Benjamin Franklin, great forward thinker. If he was like, hey, you know what? it would make it a lot easier on my oil bill if the day started at a different time. You know what? Let's just do that. Um, I think that's kind of cool and interesting. But now in our society of like electricity, variable scheduling, work hours at different points, it really just feels like a leftover from another time period that kind of benefits in the winter at least, because in Canada, where we are, it, for those listening, I'm not sure if it's the same everywhere. Like I know the daylight schedules are different, but like we're pretty much in darkness in the winter at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, um, and uh, and then in that's like with the daylight savings time, which where the times moved up. Whereas if it never happened, we would probably only be in darkness at like 5 o'clock, and
But that's a
and
big difference, you know.
it is a big difference. I'm just saying it's like for somebody like me that is less of an early riser and more of a after evening person, I would rather have the light at the tail end of the day. But it seems like, oh no, it's for morning folks or people who are like that's my sort of begrudging it.
Well,
If it worked the other way, maybe I would like it more.
but it's also like, you know, if you live in the northern hemisphere, farther north or farther south in the southern hemisphere, I mean, you're gonna have shorter days at some point in the year. Like you're not gonna get around it. So I just find the whole notion of like why you shift it. Like so somebody is gonna have to spend more time in darkness than the other, whether it's the early riser or the late riser, because that's just the nature of if you live closer to the poles. So why shifting it an hour? It does so little too. Like that, like you were saying that like it gets dark at 4. Well, it'd be like 5. When we're near the solstice. And I agree. Like I think that hour would make a big difference. Because I'm like I'm not getting up that early, so I would prefer it. But that extra hour, it's like it seems like minute to the point. Like, what are you really gaining from moving that thing an hour? It's still the days are still shorter. The daylight is still short. So that hour shift to me is basically irrelevant. Like when you have it in the morning, you have it in the night. It's shorter. Who cares when it is? I just really think that having everybody set their clocks back in a whole country, and for sure this still continues to make people miss appointments and be late for things because someone didn't get the memo or whatever. It's just like, what's the point? Like, it seems, and I agree with Crowder, I think it is from a bygone era, really. And just like, why do we continue doing this? It just seems like it's a pointless convention.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is it that is it a cultural thing? Is it have to do with the business of the world? Like, how many operating systems do we have to fix because of daylight savings? Maybe it's very little. Like, how much of our infrastructure is invested in the daylight savings, or is it just cultural? Like the same reason why marijuana is still not legal, same reason why the law is so resistant to move on gay marriage in many places. Like daylight savings, it's kind of like a non-problem. Like, is it really hurting anybody? No. So wouldn't we be better putting our resources elsewhere to fix other problems? Probably. And do some people still value it? I'm sure. And does it cost money to change? And it's like, well, let's just do something else. Like, I think collectively it's kind of like, we hate it, but whatever. I don't know if there's like a lobby for daylight. Like, are there daylight savings timer people committee? So like, I'll look this up.
I wonder. I'm curious. I'm curious about that. And like, who are the people that keep this? Keep it going.
Yeah. So but Bo did lump them in with two other things that were, like in terms of the legalization of marijuana and gay marriage, that are completely different in the sense that they're ideologically based. Like, and for Bo, it's evident that they're like innocuous and it's the way forward. But I can understand opposition to both those things. One for like religious and cultural, one for like maybe anti-crime or fear of drugs, all those sort of things. It makes sense why there would be big resistance to those things. Daylight savings time, I do not understand what why, and it will be interesting to see if they pull up some sort of daylight savings timer thing, because for me, from a pet peeve perspective, I didn't really give a shit about daylight savings time until I had a toddler. And now I'm like, this thing screws with my life. Because for those of you who don't have toddlers or little children, let me tell you, they like their routine. Everything is kind of like planned upon routine. Naps happen at a certain time, night times at a certain time, all that sort of stuff. And then now that's all screwed up. Like, and it takes a while. Like I'm over daylight savings, and so is my toddler. She's adjusted, but it took a while, and it was a miserable while, and it's a lot of pain for little
Well, yeah, and
gain.
but you raised kind of an interesting point. I mean, I also have a toddler, and it was also annoying how clearly, you can't tell a toddler, oh, you get to sleep in or you get to get up early this one day for no reason. But it also is like we all have our circadian rhythms, right? And yes, you can adjust them as we all do at daylight savings times twice a year. You get to sleep in, you get to get up early. But like, I get in a routine where I tend to go to bed around X time and I get up roughly the same time, and most people have a kind of rhythm that they follow throughout the day. So why? But shifting at that hour, it definitely does affect you for a few days, anyways. To be like, oh, I have to get up early, and you feel like it because your normal. So you're right about like toddlers are very routine based, but we all have our rhythms, and it's just like, why are we messing with them? Like, if everyone's already in a rhythm of their own based on the time frame we've all agreed to at the moment, to the twice a year be like, we're just gonna shift it, and everyone's like, oh, okay, and are kind of screwed up for a little bit, but they get over it. Like, why do we do this to ourselves? Again, the benefit. I mean, it seems like we're really crapping on it here. I just really don't see the benefit. And I've also heard farmers say that, farmers, get a lot out of the daylight saving time. But I would be like, in this country anyways, like when it comes into effect, no one's really farming anymore. It's getting cold outside. Like you've probably got your harvest in. Like, do you really need that extra morning light time? And if the time didn't change, would you not just wake up earlier to get the light? Like, I really see like the time element of it seems
so we're
weird.
We're currently in savings now, right?
No, I think we're normal in theory.
See, nobody even knows.
I don't know.
Sakes, what the hell is? Why do we bother with this shit? Because I'm operating on the theory that I get an extra hour of daylight per day, but I'm not 100% sure that we would get less.
No, like, you do not get any more. All it is it's shifted during the time.
That's what I mean. Because listen, the way this personally affects me is I leave my office from work at 5, and it is pitch black out, and I hate it. Now I know it's only an hour. It would be 6. At least I think I know. It wouldn't be earlier. It would be 6 that it would get dark, right?
Yes.
Why do we do this?
Would it be?
It's yes, well, that's what I'm asking. Which way does the shift go?
The shift, well, I've heard it's the summertime that's daylight savings. This is one of these times where we should just Google it to find out, but that kind of contravenes the tenets of our show. But whatever.
We're really uneducated.
Can I tell you one other thing that pisses me off about daylight savings?
We're clearly not liking daylight savings.
Okay, do you know when it's triggered? Okay, in a day.
2 in the morning. 2 in the morning.
2 in the morning. Yeah. Why? Well, why not midnight? You have a 24-hour clock. Why do you make it change?
I think they feel like. I feel like they feel like a lot of people are kind of up around midnight, but 2 most people are asleep, so it's not going to affect you as much.
I started looking some stuff up just for the purpose of our conversation a bit.
So random.
I'm not reading a lot, but we do have one advocate, Winston Churchill, a very relevant figure in our day. He says,
long dead, not our day.
The opportunities for the pursuit of health and happiness among the millions of people who live in this country. It enlarges it. Sorry, I missed the first 2 words. It enlarges the opportunities for the pursuit of health and happiness.
Daylight savings does.
Yep. He's quoted as having said.
Well, first of all, again, that might have been in an era where the cost of
Churchill's still relevant. The things he says has so much impact on
yes,
day.
You realize it was he was like prominent in World War. Anyway,
I know who he is. I'm being okay. It's a joke. Like, I guess I'm being funny.
But see, See, it's funny. Part of this makes me think like how it would be interesting to because Donald Trump obviously being recently elected, running on issues that nobody even thought about beforehand or didn't care that much about, like building a wall between Mexico. I was just wondering if you just sort of picked a bunch of random bullshitty issues and said like, I'm running as a candidate for against daylight savings time and, blah blah blah. Pick a bunch of other innocuous or little annoyances that I wonder if you could build a campaign on that, and people would get, because people can understand how annoying daylight savings time is, and I understand like early risers saying, "Oh yes, it enlarges the time that we have," but aside from like a bias of it gives me more light during the time that I'm awake, a selfishly thing. I don't understand the positive gain, and I definitely do from a historical context. Like just Mike's Benjamin Franklin oil analogy is a fine one, but like since in this day and age, it really seems like a holdover, and it's not like we're not doing anything. We're actively doing something. So like the holdover is actively every
Yeah.
year we change the time twice a year. Whereas if the easier thing to do would be not to do anything.
Yes, we could easily do nothing. And
Yes, exactly. Would be not to, but we've invested in like I even the financials behind it. I'd be curious. Like, there's got to be a cost associated to society-wide change the time twice a year.
well,
Like,
and again, I think it used to be argued that there was a benefit in that there would be cost savings, but I really think with the way things are these days, businesses are open late. I really doubt it would have much impact on it. But it's also like just the whole like, so I agree totally. It's like we could just do nothing instead of doing the thing. But also that it's like a trick. It's like a stupid trick of your mind, trying to trick your mind and be like, oh, there's more light, because as I said earlier, like there is no difference. Like like changing the clock, it doesn't make there be more light. There's still only X amount of light based on the time of year. You moving the
All right.
time doesn't change it.
All right,
I'm just like,
I
so
have it
doesn't
though.
do
I
anything.
have what the problem is. I've centered in on what the problem is with daylight. And again, I know this is not what we like to do on Good, Bad, or Bullshit, but in a little excerpt that I found funny.
You asked the internet, Bo. You're
No,
cheating.
but it's the Wikipedia page. It's a reliable source, I think. Reliable-ish. In 2001, there was a declaration by Russia that it would not turn its clocks back, and they'd stay in daylight savings time all year long, which I also find weird. But anyways, in 2014, they reverted the change because of widespread complaints of wintertime morning. This is so. First of all, it's funny that they actually tried to do this for 3 years, and it's funny that people were complaining about the mornings. I think all of us on the show probably wouldn't pick at that fact of the morning. Like, we'd be okay with it. But I think the thing is, it has to do with the workday, and it's not the topic of today's show. But keep in mind that we work 8-hour days, 5 days a week. Even if if we're not farmers or doing something a little more natural from whence this might have came in terms of industry, is that we drive cars. It's maybe an hour of travel time average. What's the average travel time for all the people in Canada to get to work every day and back and forth? People have to get up. We have this long ass fucking work day. Like, that's why, if people,
But it's still,
like, if
again,
we would
it
reduce,
doesn't change anything.
if we
It
would,
just, it's like, as we keep
no,
saying, do you want the
but
light in the morning
it does,
or do you want
but,
it at night?
but it does, because
It doesn't.
on a weekend day, on a leisure day, I don't think it affects you as it does on an industry day. I think like, I know it, and I know I'm a bad example, but a day I don't have to go to work. I don't need to be up at the crack of 7 o'clock or whatever and look out the window. I can be like, well, it's still dark out. I'll stay in a bit. So if our work days were not as long, maybe this would not be an issue because we'd be like,
But,
well,
like,
I don't have to be anywhere too
I
quickly,
still
so
think
it's
that's
fine.
that's a non-issue to be like, oh, people are complaining about. And again, I think Crofton hit it on the head earlier. It's a bias, and it favors people who tend to be up or complaining about the morning.
But a
But
lot
what
of people
about
are up in the morning to work, right?
what about all the people who complain about the evening? Because I complain about the evenings. I hate leaving work and it being black. And I feel like if it was just
Whoa.
if the sun was going to set in a half an hour after I left work, I'd prefer that to it being black out. And I also think that it's like if you're up in the morning and it's dark, like what you have to look forward to, like so you're going to work, the sun's gonna come up. Like you're going towards having light. But if you leave work and it's already dark, well, that's it. There's nothing. You're just in the dark, instead of enjoying a little bit of sunlight before it's over. So I feel like favoring the morning
Well,
is
I'm with you there.
kind of
So
pointless.
so maybe our ideal thing is a 6-hour workday, 5-hour workday, and that way there's plenty of sun to be had.
And I think it would
I
put into
guess.
perspective like really what we need to do is ask someone who lives in the proper north. Like if you live in in the Yukon or Northwest Territories or Nunavut in Canada, where you might get down to 3 hours of light a day, they're probably like, you know what? Who cares? Like, you're not getting any light in the morning. You're not getting any light in the evening. It's like, that's just what the time of year it is, right? It's just, there's not much light. Whether you shift that 8-hour workday means nothing, because that's the reality of it. Doing this is just a stupid way to try to trick ourselves, but it doesn't work because it's the angle of the Earth relative to its position around the sun is what determines how much light there is, not what you set your clock to. So it's not changing anything. It's just
Wait, here's one thing though, is that we're all a little bit like in an echo chamber in the sense that we all have similar rhythms. Bo has no similar rhythms to any man, but like Mike and I have similar rhythms. But
Okay.
there is a seasonal affective disorder, SAD, whatever the full thing is, that where people get depressed in the winters, all over, but especially in Canada. And due to lack of sunlight, and there's lots of reasons, and definitely office work and different things like that are also to blame. But if, like, from an impartial point of view, selfishly, I don't like daylight savings time. But if you came at me with statistics and you said, okay, because February is a month that's high in suicides, in this country, and one of the reasons is because it has not much sunlight. It's a lot of winter, and there's obviously much more complicated reasons to individuals taking their own lives, but it just has higher than normal statistic. So if you told me, hey, look, if you change the the time by like an hour this way, we've done studies, and it shows that it's going to reduce levels of like this seasonal disorder by 13%, and there could be a lot of people that won't off themselves, and there's like scientific backing to that. Well, then I'd have to be like, well, you know what, that even though selfishly it doesn't suit me, maybe there is some merit. So I don't know, like maybe there has been some research done that shows like that it is better this way in terms of keeping people happier and all that during the winter, and I just happen to be not one of those people that is benefiting. But
I would still like, I would be like, I mean, if I saw that research, but again, there's no evidence that it has been done, then I would maybe be convinced. But again, I would still restate the fact that like the amount of hours of light is determined by something we cannot control. So if that's what's causing someone's depression, whether you change the clock or not doesn't make there be more light. And so it's like, again, I think it's just a psychological thing, but I don't even think it's an effective one because it's not changing the reality you have to deal with. And it's interesting where I am right now, which is in the mountains and more north than we normally are. I'm definitely noticing that the day's a lot shorter here even. It's like, because not only does the sun have to get over the mountain, but we're higher latitude. So like, man, it's dark a lot. Like when we get up every morning to go skiing, it's blackout, and then it gets light, and then you're done, and like the sun's pretty much gone, and you're like, wow, the day is short. That's just is what it is, right? Whether I change my clock or not doesn't make it be any different. So anyways, I mean, I'm ready to say something about this because I don't know how much we're gonna rehash the same thing.
It's not like we're delivering some sort of historical lesson on it. We're just sharing our opinions. I feel like
and clearly they're generally not favorable. I don't know how that's going.
I think we're at a good time. Let's roll out verdicts here. Let's bring in the animals and let's put what do they say? A stamp on it. Let's put
a bow on it. A bow.
Bow, yeah. We'll put a bow Schwartz on it. Let's do this. All right, here they come. Order in the court. All right, it's verdict time. Who would like to take the...
I'll go first.
All right.
As the official host of this episode, the Bill S. Preston, I feel like I should layeth down the smack on daylight savings time. Now, here's the thing: when we conceived of this show, I think the three of us, partly in our minds, we wanted to have discussions and stuff, but I think we all had little things that we wanted to rant about, little annoyances, Seinfeldian, if you will, in nature, where a show like Good, Bad, or Bullshit that has, like, you know, the word bullshit in the name, where you're sort of complaining about things and wanting to be like, why is this like this? It's so dumb and blah, 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 blah. This was one of those topics, I think, that I thought of when we conceived this show in terms of like frustrations that I could air. And I've aired a lot of them over the course of the show. I don't really think that there's anything here that convinces me that daylight savings is bad. Like, the most you could argue is it's a useless exercise that is kind of maybe lightly negatively impacts my life on an annual basis due to having a toddler. But aside from that, mostly daylight savings is a bullshit thing. And that's why I am going to have to say that daylight savings is bullshit.
All right.
Bullshit.
That's one turd out.
All right, I'll go next.
All right, you go.
And again, this is kind of like going with my gut, which so I'll just say it right now. Daylight savings time is bad. Bad.
All right.
I'm going full and bad with this one because, yeah, like yes, it's innocuous. Is it killing anyone? No. But it's just like, but also I think I'd like to lump in. It just seems to me that it's stupid. It's stupid, is what I just think. I think it's people fooling themselves, but not even doing a good job fooling themselves. And I think if we have policy, international policy, which is stupid and pointless, that's more than just bullshit. That's bad. Like, we should not waste our time with stuff like this. I mean, I know that no one's dying, but it's still, to me, if you have governments doing stupid things as a matter of policy and forcing hundreds of billions of people to do, even though it's a minor annoyance, to do this thing, which serves no purpose, that's a bad thing. And and get rid of it and move on, and let's just forget it ever existed. And let's pick the time. Why don't we just split the difference? Put it back half an hour and then just leave it. We don't have to do the hour before the hour back. Let's just make it a half an hour difference, and that's the new time. And let's get on with our lives already.
All right.
That's all I have to say.
Okay, man. I feel like he's getting crankier and crankier with every episode, Crofton. It's gonna be great when we get to episode 1000, Mike. It's gonna be just incredible.
Also, I just remember that I was outside all day in minus 25 weather, so I'm probably crankier because of that too.
Yeah.
It's really cold today.
And you're like, if there's one thing I could wish for, it's an hour more of sunlight, not heat.
By episode 1000, it'll be like, the topic will be like love and happiness, and Mike will be like, it's awful, it's bad, I hate it.
Nobody needs that.
You
can't put that in a
look,
frying pan.
in my own defense, I'm gonna jump in here because I know I'm craggy, but don't say that about me. Listen to episodes like the physical greetings ones. I am very positive.
We're
on
teasing
love.
you. We're mischaracterizing you. It's true.
I love love, and
I'm just saying that by 1000, if you just continue to downward spiral.
I always when things are love or good, I love them.
All right, we'll check in with you.
Bo,
we'll check in with
get
you
on with the
at episode 1000, and I'll bookmark this clip to play back to you. All right, my verdict. Excuse me, on daylight savings time. Listen, it's beyond use. There's two kinds of useless. There's like benign useless and like useless that actually causes harm. I want to say this is the kind of useless that causes harm, but I can't think of any examples other than, it screws up my sleep routine, which I need for work. and as a person that's a night owl, but constantly works jobs that have daytime hours, because, hey man, I like to have my evenings and weekends free. If I'm going to work that kind of a job, It actually really messes me up on come Monday morning and for a few days. I really felt it this year. And I'm just like, this is just pretty much inconsiderate. Like someone put up a hurdle for me for no reason. And I have yet to hear one person ever say a reason that convinced me that this was a good thing. Like, listen, we save 10 whales a year from extinction because of daylight savings time. I'd be like, okay. I don't understand where we're saving anything. It is beyond useless. It's frustrating. And while it's kind of benign, I still think it's ultimately evil. I think we need to solve problems like this in humanity, is supporting useless stuff for no reason. So, except a few people are inconvenienced by some light. Just have one system, please. Or have no system. Let's stop using time altogether. Those are the two options I want. We can have chaos. I'm a friend of the chaos. But if we're going to have structure, stick to your damn rules. Daylight savings time is bad. It's very, very bad. Bad, bad, bad. Bad daylight savings time.
It's funny because Crofton gave the bullshit like but
it's clearly a bad it was a negative bullshit.
Yeah, it was a bad slanted bullshit.
He was negging the bullshit.
But it's a bullshit thing. I stand by my topic. I think, like, for those of you scoring at home, Bo Schwartz, prostitution, good, daylight savings time, bad. I think bad is I like using it when there's really a negative thing. This is, even in your own verdicts, you said it's fairly innocuous, or at least Mike did.
No,
So,
I said I stand by my verdict. It's bad.
Okay. We don't need to rehash. We all heard the verdicts.
I know. I'm just saying, you guys are pointing to me. This is a stereotypical bullshit verdict for me. Like,
I understood what you meant by it, because it isn't. No one's dying.
Listeners, okay. If you want to tell us who is right here, and if you think it's good, don't even bother writing in. But if you think it's either bad or bullshit, please do let us know which one is right. goodbadbull@gmail.com is the email address. You can send us any sort of mail, fan mail, Crofton fan mail, whatever. We're cool with that. Also, we would invite you, if you're not already subscribed, to subscribe. You can do it on iTunes, the Google Play Store, Stitcher, whatever, wherever fine podcasts are sold. You can find the Good, Bad, or Bullshit podcast. Goodbadbull.com is the website. Please go there. Check out all our stuff. And if you're feeling real generous, we love our patrons here on GBB. You can go to patreon.com/goodbadbull and contribute to our future success. Will always be free, but we appreciate any donations you want to throw our way. Always nice. So we're also individuals of individual natures, and you can follow us on our respective social media channels. There's @GoodBadBull if you just want to follow the whole podcast, but you can follow Bo Rufus Schwartz online. Bo, where can they reach you?
All right, you can find all that I'm up to on Twitter @Bo Schwartz. That's the best place for it. And give me a follow, and you can find out about the new Good, Bad, or Bullshit episodes, or Core, or any other place that happen to be popping up.
All right. And Ted Theodore Logan from out west, where can people find you?
They can find me at ML Hodgins, dude. Follow me there, man.
I don't even know if that was a joke on being out west or being Ted Theodore Logan. Both.
They kind of maybe it's a double joke. It is the style out here.
And you can follow me at Crofton Steers on Twitter. I know we have different views, especially Mike, on the lighter topics on the show, but I quite enjoy them. I find that they're palate cleansers from some of the more weighty material that we often find ourselves digging through.
Yeah, I mean, but this is an important topic, actually. I know you called it a light topic, but actually it really pisses me off. It's like it really upsets me. I feel like this is a serious issue, except even for us, like it's not that serious, but it's a problem. And look, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you guys a little story. My dad tried to teach me a lesson one time. All right? This is a father lesson one time. He was mad at me. And he was yelling at me and he was berating me about something. I don't remember what. And I had that reaction of I'm frozen in place. You know what I mean? Someone's yelling at you, berating you, and I'm not moving. I don't want to do anything wrong. I don't want to piss him off further. I'm getting lectured. Here we go. And then suddenly he takes a jar, I think it was a jar of mustard, and he whips it onto the ground. And he's like, so you're not getting the lesson, right? And I was like, what? He's like, pick it up. And I was like, still scared for my life, and I didn't move. He's like, it's common sense. You pick up the mustard. You pick up the mustard. Something falls, you pick it up. And to this day, something falls on the ground, I pick it up, or I do this. And this is like, and it's not really a lesson. It's more just, it was a dumb thing. Like, it had no context. And this is daylight savings time. This is all it is it's something, it's been forced upon us by forces outside of our control. And the mustard story, that's what that's about.
So
I'm still trying to understand exactly what he's trying to teach you.
So if I'm following
That's
this
the point.
context, daylight savings time is a broken jar of mustard?
It's
Is
not
that
broken.
right?
It wasn't broken. He was berating me for not using common sense. So he threw a thing of mustard. And look, if you drop something in your house, Croft, and chances are you're going to pick it up. Because it's common sense. You don't want your little ones to choke on it. You don't
But
want to
did the
slip on it.
mustard break?
No, but it didn't break. But I remember making a loud sound. So maybe if it would have broken, like, it's, Dad get angry, right? So it might have broke, but it didn't. And the lesson continued uninterrupted by a broken jar. You need to stop worrying about the broken jar.
But what I don't understand, shouldn't he have picked up the mustard because he dropped it?
Well, but
I'd be like, if
he was
you said you told him to pick it up, it sounded like he was just being a jerk.
He was patronizing me and trying to teach me a lesson, but it was just an ineffective. When you're already yelling and berating at someone and they're clearly in fear of you, people don't. You stop moving, you listen, you try not to screw up. But he wanted me to think for myself, so he didn't want to tell me to pick it up. He wanted me to just pick it up of my own volition. The problem is I'm in the middle of being berated. There's a problem with the lesson, and that's what I'm saying is there is a problem with daylight savings time. This is how.
That's okay.
That's why he's Rufus, folks. He speaks in riddles.
Come on, it makes sense. I feel like I'm making sense. Why are you guys not getting it?
It makes sense. Daylight savings time is like falling mustard.
Just pick it up.
just learn the
You
lesson.
get it, people?
Pick it up.
Now we can get away from that. Bo just needs to do. He needs to run for office and be like, and I'm gonna run on a platform of when the
Dude,
mustard
I'm
falls,
so
you pick it up,
inspired. I'm so
and
inspired
everyone's
to
gonna be
run
like,
for office.
oh yes.
I'm gonna
We
clean
didn't
the mustard out of this town.
I'm so inspired since Trump to actually run for office. I feel like I got a really good shot all of a sudden now. It's pretty great, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna say that we must have found a spot in that mustard spiel to end this.
Oh, you missed the perfect spot for a pun. You could have said instead of mustard, you could have said mustard. Well, we found a perfect spot to end this.
Wow, wow, wow.
Oh my God! Well, there's your post-credit cap.
Wow, we're so meta today.
So
all right,
unrelated,
the recording's.
I gotta say bye to the live stream.
All right, live stream. We're unceremoniously dumping you, but it's because Mike's in Alberta and he's probably wants to go, but say something private before we go. So thanks for watching. And thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another episode. And we'll be here until episode 1000. Bye, live stream.